Do it.
Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in...
When I was 12 years old, my testimony sent my father to prison for murdering my mother. This podcast serves as a type of therapy and reconciliation for myself, and it is my hope that it helps anyone who has experienced deception, betrayal, and dark trauma. I'm Collier Landry, and this is Moving Past Trauma.
Is more traumatic than having to re-put up. So I take my whole setup with me. I mean, I didn't take my camera with me, but I took, obviously nothing was connected. It was working fine earlier. Oh, well, hope you guys can hear me. And it was really funny because I am looking at the, I'm playing the little video intro and things like that, but I can see the comments stacking up, but I can't read them. And I'm like, I bet you there's no sound, because that would make sense, right? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? For those of you that don't know, I was at Crimecon all weekend, starting on, I left on Thursday morning, and it was in Orlando for Crimecon. This is what I was sharing without the sound. This is my little badge from the show. I was there representing, obviously, myself, but my other podcast, which I do with Terror Newell, Survivor Squad. And, of course, I have to represent Marisol on my badge as well. That's where I was. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to share some pictures and all those things. We're going to talk about this Taylor Schabusiness. Schabusiness? What a name. Like, I looked at that and I was like, that's got to be a typo. Nope, that was not a typo. The last name really is Schabusiness. Because I have a, that is because, thank you so much, Tam Jules. Thank you so much for saying that. Or I'm the only one that hears you. No, I think you all do. All you guys, I'm going to go through all our little comments here. I'm so sorry. Please, yes, like and subscribe. And really sorry about the sound, guys. I was thinking about the show today, and I was like, I can't wait till it generates enough revenue where I can have somebody help me do all of it. My dear friend Joel Waldman, who I finally got to meet in person from Surviving the Survivor, I have some swag I'll share in a second. He has his brother-in-law helping him, who is based here in Los Angeles, run his show now, which is fabulous. I'm like, I cannot wait till I can afford to have somebody else help me with all the little fun, flashy things, because it's a lot of work, and I love doing this. So hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. Maybe by first quarter next year, it will be up and running, and there will be somebody helping me do the show, which would be fabulous. And then I don't have to, deal with sound issues and whatnot. But yeah, when you unplug your whole setup and take it with you on the road, I tried to do lives from Crimecon, as you guys saw. I had the camera and everything, and the internet was so poor. So this is a convention center that is massive, and they had two different trade shows going on there. And I thought, oh, for sure, I'll be able to do a live, no problem. In fact, Joel was trying to do a live. He had better internet than I did. People were paying $500 for this internet. I did not pay that, by the way, because I quickly learned that it was not worth it. And on checkout, so it's completely bummed my whole day. And we were essentially in the basement, so we weren't really getting reception of any kind. I tried using my cell phone, as you guys saw, which worked, and it was cool. Kathleen Welsh, thank you so much for the super sticker. I greatly appreciate it. But we had a whole kerfuffle, and yeah, and upon checkout, I said, I paid for the internet, which was like $30 a day or something. And after the first day, I killed it. And I said, what's wrong with the problem? Oh, yeah, the problem with our internet, sir, is that our internet tower, our AT&T tower, got ran into last month, and we haven't fixed it yet. Now, I don't know what's wrong with that statement, what you guys might think is wrong with that statement, but what's wrong with that statement is the fact that they have two conventions going on in their trade show or in their convention center, and they didn't fix the internet. And they're just like, oh, whatever. But I'm like, you're still charging us for the internet. And they're like, yeah, we're still charging you for the internet, but it's not any good because our tower got destroyed. Unbelievable. And I wish I could say that this is like an uncommon occurrence. It often is a massive occurrence for those of you that go to trade shows. It happens. And the reception for the cell phone wasn't as good. But I did do some lives. You guys got to see me live with our live podcast that we were doing. Tara and I were doing on the stage on the final day. It was really fantastic. And I got some fun little pictures to share with you guys as soon as I figure out how to do that, which is pretty easy. Let's see here. So I'm going to share my screen, and it is going to be photos. Yeah, there we go. Great. All right. These are my Crimecon memories. So for those of you that may or may not know, Tara Newell. So we on the opening night they had a party with a neon theme. And Tara and I decided to go dressed as Ken and Barbie. This is the Barbie rollerblading outfit from from the Barbie movie. And I would say that maybe you could think that Tara and I did that. It was Tara's idea, but it was really my idea because I thought, okay, there's one time. Nobody knows me here. I mean, they know me, but like I'll never have to see these people again in like my daily life. So I might as well do that. But I guess I am broadcasting this out to the world. So I guess everyone knows. Yes, I did the Barbie Ken and Barbie outfits. And it was pretty funny. For those of you that follow our friend of the show, Surviving the Survivor, this is Joel Waldman. Joel's wife also filmed me dancing with Carm. If you guys know Carm, also from Surviving the Survivor, I was dancing with Carm because Carm has a little bit of a crush on me. And she kept saying, "You're so handsome. You're so handsome." It was very cute. She's very sweet. And I'll tell you what, the woman is 83 years old and she's got wheels on her. She was a trooper. She was going get it. It was great. And yeah, somebody pointed out only 23 pictures. Yeah, I did not take a lot of pictures with my phone. This is a fan who came and stopped by. I do not remember their name. I'm so sorry. I think I wrote it down in my notes, but it was fabulous. This is the view from our hotel room, which was really exciting. And that is my friend Jamie Rice talking in the background. She is a good friend of Tara's, friend of mine. She is off in she is the host of the Murderish podcast. So she was hanging out with us. But yeah, this is like Epcot's off in the background here. And yeah, it was a really cool view. There's like a little water park on the other side here at this hotel. And yeah, it was pretty fun. So we had a good time. This is a massage therapist. She was there. She helped Tara out with her hips. She's a fan of the show. This is me. So this is obviously Tara, myself, and this is Matt Murphy, for you guys know. So Matt Murphy is a former prosecutor in Orange County, California, and he was actually going to be the one who would have prosecuted Tara for the taking of John Meehan's life. And he literally said, I've got a nice video of him talking about that whole situation. He said, in all of his years of being a prosecutor, 17 years that he worked in the DA's office, there was one case that came through that he said there's absolutely no way we're pressing charges. And that was Tara's case. I know she gets a lot of speculation about this, but he literally said this guy was a con man. There was so much evidence against him just on how he terrorized her family, but also everything that he had in his trunk of his car, which include ropes, knives, a hood, burlap sack to cover her head, etc., etc. He was up to no good. Matt Murphy saw through it, and sometimes prosecutors are just like, "Yeah, we're not even going to waste our time because this guy was a criminal and was up to no good." And I've got him on video talking about that. It's really cool. This is my dear friend, Dr. Kenny Kinsey. He has been on the show. He was one of the stars of the Murdaugh trial. And we had several conversations over the weekend. This is my first time meeting him in person. He came through with his lovely wife, Dee Dee. And there's Tara and I and myself. This is at the actual convention. Of course, like when they're closing up, this is a better shot, actually. This is a better picture. But his lovely wife, Dee Dee, and they just messaged me the other night. They were watching my film because Kenny hadn't gotten a chance to see it yet. So they were watching my film, and he said, I look much better now than I did in my film. And I said, hey, you know what, Kenny, I have to agree with you. On the last day of Crimecon, we actually took a little bit of a break and went to the pool because I was supposed to meet up with some relatives, but they were unable to make it due to some respiratory-related illnesses, and so we didn't meet. So before we went to get on the airplane, we went to the pool, and it was a lot of fun. So, and I got all kinds of little swag. Joel and Carm, best guests, surviving the survivor. Come on, there we go. So I got that. That was super cool. They shared that with me. This is my Crimecon bag, by the way. I realized that the camera was on little. So, Oxygen is the one that puts on Crimecon. And for those of you that love true crime, it was a really fun show. Somebody said, "Oh, you don't have a lot of pictures." Well, I didn't take a lot of pictures. People took a lot of pictures of me, and I did not get them from them. I got to meet Cheryl McCollum, who's working on the BTK case. She actually stopped me. I was on my way from the gym, and she goes, "Hey, Collier, I want a picture of you." And I'm like looking at her, but I hadn't had my coffee, in all fairness, and because we were on the East Coast, I was on California time still, so it was like 5 a.m. for me, even though it was 8 a.m. there. And I was on my way to the gym, and she's like, "It's Mac." And I said, "Mac, I know it's you. I know." And I met her husband. It was a whole thing. We got a picture, but I don't have it yet. Got our fun little mugs. This is what they give the speakers, and I'm sure they sold them in the gift shop. So I'm going to do a little giveaway and give all this stuff away. And then, so Kenny was so excited, he brought me a present, Dr. Kenny Kinsey, and he had these made. I think this is absolutely hilarious. He had his own tumblers made. Urinalysis. This is Kenny Kinsey and Associates LLC with a little biohazard thing, and it's this is his little memes on it. I thought this was so cute, so I will put this back on my little shelf. This is not going to be in the giveaway. This is my personal thing. I'll put that on my little goodie shelf. But I'm very grateful for him. The Surviving the Survivor. These are staying on the shelf permanently. These are permanent additions. But this gets to go with my little positive potato from Stephanie Truesdale, who follows us both on Twitter. And she made these for Kenny. She made one for me. It was very sweet. So I'll set those aside. And some fun gifts. So I'll figure out a giveaway that I'm going to do. So y'all can, I don't know, we'll figure something out. It'll be fun. So yeah, Crimecon was really great. It was I got to see a lot of podcasters that I know in the business. Justin from Generation Y, Tyler from Minds of Madness, Jamie from Murderish. Kimberlea was there. Kimberlea True Crime on YouTube. We had a lot of fun. Too much fun. And and it's also fun because I get to, so I quit drinking a long time ago, but obviously trade shows and conventions are a great escape for a lot of people. So the bars were always packed. They were doing well. I did discover Heineken Zero though, which was really quite good for those of you that do not drink. Heineken zero alcohol, and pretty good flavor. So I tried that. That was pretty good. But yeah, I was up every day at the gym, going hard, and I had a great trip, and we had just a great time in the show. So that is my Crimecon experience. Let me see what. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, Gen X Granny. You're right. So there's this case, Taylor Schabusiness, and Taylor Schabusiness has just been sentenced to life in prison, and then an additional sentence on top of that: life in prison, no parole, no supervised release, etc., etc. Wash your hair with beer, LOL. My grandma used to do that. Wash your hair with beer? What does that do? I would like to know what washing hair with beer is. So, yeah, I'm going to play an excerpt from the sentencing hearing from yesterday. I thought what the judge had to say was very thoughtful, and let's just get into it here, because I was definitely taken aback by what he had to say. Also about what a lot of people, there's a long history in her family, and it was something interesting that the judge said. But let me play a little recap here for those of you that don't know. So Taylor Schabusiness was convicted in this Green Bay. She's from Green Bay, Wisconsin. She had dismembered her boyfriend, her lover, uh, during a methamphetamine fueled rage. I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is sort of a synopsis from Law and Crime Network. I'm going to play this because I just it is definitely interesting. And the judge made a lot of points, and I'm going to play that in a second. But let's check out a little bit of this just to give people background.
The story begins in Green Bay, Wisconsin on February 22nd, 2022, when investigators say Schabusiness knowingly killed her lover, 24-year-old Shad Thyrion, in his mother's basement. After her arrest, Schabusiness explained what started as kinky sex quickly escalated to something more severe.
I was strangling. You were strangling? I was having fallen down the neck.
After strangling Thyrion to death, Schabusiness dismembered his body and sexually assaulted his remains.
It's just...
After he was dead. What did you do with the head?
The head I put in that bucket, that black bucket.
Black bucket?
With the blanket on top.
Okay. And then where'd you leave it?
Leave the head? It's still in the bucket. It's right by the stairs.
Thyrion's mother found her son's head in the early morning hours of February 23rd.
Are you positive my son's head is in a bucket? I know.
When investigators arrived on the scene, they found something out of a horror.
I know you're busy over there, but this is actually what it's going to be. It's not going to be a 961 thing or a 96 thing, so we're going to need more units here.
Prosecutors laid this out in their first set of opening statements, calling the scene a nightmare that Schabusiness purposely created.
So this case is really not a whodunit. You'll hear about the crimes that clearly occurred. You'll hear the defendant's statement saying, yep, I did it. And you have DNA evidence and other investigative tools that kind of corroborate everything else. You'll hear the defendant describe that what apparently begins as a somewhat sexual encounter escalates to a dog collar being placed around Shad's neck. And the defendant quite vividly describes what she then did. She's yanking on that chain. She's describing what's happening to Shad. It's evidence that you'll hear, and you'll hear from the defendant's own mouth, that shows that this is an intentional act. It's not one pull of a gun trigger. It's an intense act. You'll hear about that from Vincent Tranquita, Dr. Tranquita as well. She's pulling harder, just hoping that he eventually passes, and it takes a significant amount of time. It takes several minutes. So you'll hear her say. After that, after Shad's deceased, she describes what she then does with his body, again, engaging in sexual acts, ultimately dismembering him quite significantly. She reports that afterwards, that law enforcement would have fun finding all the body parts that are located throughout the basement, told law enforcement where to find certain body parts. Like I said, it wasn't obvious to law enforcement who initially respond to that basement what happened.
Schabusiness's defense attorney, Christopher Freilich, countered, saying there's two sides to every story.
Now, in this case, the state of Wisconsin, through the Brown County District Attorney's Office, has the complete burden of proof.
Now, here's something that I find very interesting, and I apologize about the echo, but I'm going to have to do it this way just because for some reason the audio wasn't working. So this is a problem with certain situations, and at Crimecon, on the end of the second day, so this was Saturday, so Dick Harpootlian was there, and I believe Jim Griffin was as well, but it was Dick Harpootlian for sure, and they were doing a panel about the Murdaugh verdict, and the entire gallery, and I was talking to Kenny about it, and he wasn't there, and he was like, it was like, he heard it was mayhem. There was a bunch of people that were outraged because Dick Harpootlian had made a comment saying, somebody had asked him, do you defend people that you know are guilty? And he said, well, yes, of course I do. And the entire gallery went off. They were, chastising him, excoriating him for representing Alec Murdaugh. And I get why people are angry. But this is the American justice system. I know for a fact that, and I have never been able to have access to my father's correspondence and transcripts with his lawyer because I just wasn't allowed to have that for whatever reason. I don't have the power of attorney. And so we tried to get that for my film, A Murder in Mansfield, but he wouldn't talk to me about it. But in defense, in trials, of course, defense attorneys represent people that they know are guilty. Because when you are representing somebody, you have to say, okay, well, what's the deal, man? Like, what happened? What happened, Taylor? What did you do? So I can properly defend you if you want to try to get off. So, of course, people who of course, lawyers that take cases know that their clients may or may not be guilty. Of course they do. So it presents it as it's a very, 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 a lot of people feel very strongly about this, and they were so angry with him, and it was all over social media because he was representing Alec Murdaugh. And again, this is a similar case. Like, he has to know, and he's going into this whole explanation, which we're going to play here in a second, which is that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. This is how the law works. And I know that it sucks for a lot of people because you want to see justice swiftly handed down. You want to see the victims get their restitution. The state gets its restitution. You want justice. But the fact of the matter is the laws are there to protect people. They are there to protect innocent people who may have not committed a crime, so they don't go to prison, and obviously sometimes that doesn't work out that way, but they are all designed to make sure that we are all, in a way, that we're protected. And of course, a lawyer can represent whoever the hell they want. But this became a big issue during Crimecon. So this is why I bring this up. We're going to hear from Christopher Froelich right now.
The United States Constitution presumes that every person who is accused of a crime is presumed to be innocent. And in this case, Taylor Schabusiness is presumed to be innocent. She doesn't have to prove anything. The defense does not have to prove anything in this case. When you're considering all of the evidence, don't jump to conclusions. Don't rush to judgment. Please keep an open mind. Listen to all the facts. Listen to what every witness has to say carefully and weigh what they have to say. And remember, there's always two sides to every story. You jurors are going to have to decipher the facts of what may have occurred or what didn't occur. But at the end of the case, we ask that you find our client not guilty on all the counts. Thank you.
To start, jurors heard the 911 call Thyrion's mother and her boyfriend made after discovering the dismembered head.
Are you positive my son's head is in a bucket? I know nothing from my basement.
What makes you think that?
Because I looked in the bucket.
What did you see?
Exactly what I told you.
Okay, where's the rest of the body at?
No idea.
You kind of came upon the bucket, happenstance kind of, right?
Right.
So then you took the towel off?
I did.
And how long did you look in the bucket?
See,
Seconds?
I don't know. Seconds, probably.
Okay. Did you put the towel back then?
I put the towel back, yes.
Tara had woken me out and said she thinks she found her son's, that's how she put it, I found my son's head in a bucket. So I'm dumbfounded. Didn't believe her.
Yeah, I would say that I wouldn't believe her either. It is, this is something that I, as a victim, as a victim's advocate, as someone who's been through this unfortunate consequences of violence, finding your son's head like this, going through this, having to relive all this at trial, having to relive all this in front of the public eye. I mean, oh my goodness. I'm really saddened for them. And this guy, like, he's just dumbfounded. Like, of course you don't expect to hear that from your wife. And, and yes, Tana, as you point out, like his father did at trial ask for leniency for her. asked for leniency for her in sentencing because of, he was being compassionate, and he was being compassionate for the fact that she has a child who I believe lives in Texas. And, she has a son, and now she's going away for the rest of her life. you know, uh, she is a 25-year-old young woman who has just completely destroyed her life and destroyed the life of, obviously, the young man who she was involved with, his family's life, his mother's life. Like, discovering that is just so callous and so egregious. And I know there's a lot of, and I'm going to play the judge's sort of take on this, on his sentencing, because it was what he had to say was very, very poignant. And look, her father, Taylor Schabusiness is, she lost her mother when she was 12. She lost her brother sometime later in a car accident, apparently. And her father is incarcerated. Her father actually testified at the trial, and he's in an orange jumpsuit. And they're interviewing him, and they're talking, and I can play it, but they're interviewing him, and he's sort of giving this background on how he coached her in softball or volleyball, and she was involved in sports, and she was an active member. Even the judge talks about her being an active member in the community of Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is where all this took place. She grew up in Indiana, and then had gone to Texas to live with her parents after the death of her mother, with her grandparents, and then wanted to come back to Green Bay, Wisconsin. And that's where she was, and all this happened. And it's just, it's terrible. Oh, the father is incarcerated for being a P word. Got it. That's really, really terrible. It's so bad.
Thought she was having a mental issue or something. Went downstairs and see what the hell she's talking about, and I can't see anything.
These poor people. We
go back upstairs and contemplate what the heck to do.
What do you do specifically when you go downstairs?
I went to the basement and observed the bucket that she said, but I don't know, my mind blocked it out, but all I seen was hair, like an animal or something. I didn't know what the heck.
When investigators arrived, they found his head and penis in a bucket, along with Thyrion's other body parts in multiple bags and totes.
Look right, there's a bucket with its heart.
So this is sort of the background for any of you that this is the horrific nature of what took place. And I want to play this, the judge's comments on all of this, because look, he had to sentence her today. It was awful. And let me, because he talks about, and he makes a really interesting point, because the father had come out, and the father was on the witness stand. The father had said a couple of things. One of them was that her rampant and wanton drug use had led to this happening. And also that he said something, and this is really what strikes me, and I have such a hard time with it. I know that I talk a lot about on this channel, and I talk about my own circumstances, and we've all discussed, and you guys discussed in the comments about accountability for your actions, right? And yes, that is something that needs to happen. People need to be held accountable for what they do. One of the things the father had said is he said the system had failed his daughter. Now, this is a man who is literally, the irony is insane, and the judge speaks about this. The irony is that he, he's sitting in an orange jumpsuit. He's apparently in prison for the P word, as you guys were saying, and child SA, and he's sitting there saying that the system failed his daughter. Not that he failed his daughter. Not that the role model that he was trying to, or that he did not lead or did not share with his daughter, all of these issues, they're systemic in a lot of ways because it's the trickle down effect, right? Like, okay, she loses her mother when she's 12, right? Which I can relate to. She loses her brother. She loses her family. Her father goes to jail. I can relate to that, and he's incarcerated. So there's not a really strong role model presence in your life. And then she dives and diverts, down the road of drug use and abuse. And then that's what leads to this behavior. And look, she was and the judge is going to talk about it. The judge is going to talk about how, and I think it's very interesting because he also talks about like how how people came to her defense in the sentencing of saying, hey, look, we knew her as a good person. She was responsible. She had a job. She loves her son. The family loves her, blah, blah, blah. The dad loves her, etc. I get all that. I get all of it. But at the same time, at what point does someone say, this stops with me, I avoid this, I avoid this. This stops with me, I should have led a better life, I made a poor decision, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Sarah Turney, friend of the show, wonderful person. Yes, precisely. And she turned it into good for her sister Alyssa and for her family and for other families and victims around the world.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Schabusiness, this is your opportunity to address me. If there's anything on your mind you'd like to say before I pass sentence.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Now, apparently she's wearing a spit mask because I guess she was spitting in court or doing something vulgar. It's wild. It's just scary. It's a scary, terrifying looking mask. But this is her sentencing, which took place yesterday, September 26th, and pretty bad stuff. But what the judge has to say is very interesting.
Very good. Well then, when passing sentence on cases like this, the court has to consider the factors set forth in State versus Gallion. So I have to consider the gravity of the offense, the character of the defendant, the need to protect the public, as well as other aggravating and mitigating circumstances, including rehabilitative needs and punishment and deterrence, and then craft a sentence in each case that's appropriate. In this case, when I consider the defendant's character, first of all, you were born in Chicago, lived there until you were about age 10, 12 rather. You seem to have had a stable childhood. You were loved by your mother and your father and your brother. And unfortunately, your mother passed away when you were 12, your brother passed away in a vehicle accident, and your dad's incarcerated. But I'm confident that all three of them probably still love you very much. Her father's employment was transferred to Green Bay when she was about 12 years old, and hence began the contact Ms. Schabusiness had with this community. She attended Bayport High School. At about 16, she moved to Texas to live with her grandfather. She graduated. Those resources are fun. Lives in this community, does work.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to skip forward. I was trying to stop it. Yeah, as Blackwater points out, yeah, that is someone's mom. Are you guys hearing this okay, by the way? I've turned up the volume on the microphone so you can hear it through the speakers. So it might sound a little echoey. I apologize, but apparently there's an issue with the with the audio coming through for whatever reason. I'm using a new software. I'm still figuring it out. And since I was gone to Orlando, I didn't have time to do that. So I apologize. Hopefully it's working and you guys can hear everything. It's good. Can hear well. Okay. Let's try it right now and see how it sounds. Let me know if you can hear this.
You should never take your
I guess I'll have to use the microphone.
In that chair in an orange jumpsuit, and have absolutely no one who will come in and say, I'm with her. And that takes a little bit of fortitude to come in and do that. And frankly, today she's got extended family. that comes in and does that for her, because her direct family are unable to do that for various reasons. And so I think that speaks to Ms. Schabusiness's character, because there's people in this world who find value and worth in her, that they're willing to come in and stand behind her. So I think that reflects on character. I'm cognizant of the fact that she began using drugs at a very young age. Marijuana at age 12, cocaine at around 18, and methamphetamine at around 18 as well. And we've heard a lot of testimony about drug usage. I don't have any doubt that that has an impact on how people conduct their lives and behave from moment to moment. But quite frankly, as far as this incident and these events go, I think I've spoken to this already in prior hearings, but the fact of the matter is, when I watched the interview with law enforcement shortly after these events, I observed someone who was lucid, understanding what was going on, was tracking what was being asked of her, her answers were tracking. Everything seemed to be together at that moment. I don't really see the influence of drugs now. It doesn't mean it's not there, but I didn't see it in that interview, which is the most close proximity to the events of this night that we have, is that interview. And right then and there, she seemed to be very lucid in what she was doing. But I don't doubt that there's a long history of drug use, serious drug use. Methamphetamine is a plague in this community, and it seeped into this case as well. And it's something that we have to constantly fight against. It's not a battle that the system wins often, but we're making some headway, and every little step we take is perhaps one life that can be saved as a result of that drug.
So I'm going to try one thing here. Mover Nation. I'm going to try a different browser. You guys can hear me now, though, right? I'm so sorry, but this is what we're dealing with right now. Hopefully you can hear my audio just fine. In an attempt to get rid of this feedback, for whatever reason it is going on, I'm going to remove this. Okay, great. So I'm going to try to.
I was a little bit.
We're just got to do with the feedback. Sorry, guys.
In the pre-sentence investigation report, frankly, from her father, he said on page 17 of that report, "I feel like the system could have helped Taylor and kind of failed her as well." And I reflected on that because it's difficult to understand who people refer to when they say the system fails people. Because you know what? It's not the job of the system to raise people's children. The system tries to do that. The system is not perfect. Like our fight against methamphetamine is not perfect, but we carry the fight on. People in our community get into the system, be that the court system or the system dealing with child protection. Really, I think what they're referring to, I don't know, but it seems to be the government. The government needs to come in and do more to take care of people who have gone astray. And I'm not sure that that's the case. Nonetheless, attempts are made. Attempts are being made in this courthouse every day. And to suggest that somehow it's the system that failed, it always surprises me a little bit when people come into court. They're coming in an orange jumpsuit and chains to suggest that it's the system that's failed my daughter. There's a certain irony in that. There really is. And it disturbed me when I read that piece. I'm not so sure it's really relevant to what should happen to Ms. Schabusiness, but it was relevant to what I heard from this witness here today, because I think the system does the best it can. It's imperfect, and it has very much to do with the amount of resources that the public wants to put into the system, and those resources are finite. But as I say, in this building, the system is doing everything it can to fight drug use, with all of our treatment courts, with everything we do, to try to help push back the plague of drug use that's occurred and that we've heard so much about in this case. So I read that statement. I heard from Mr. Business's father.
It's killing me.
He is coming in here to talk about his daughter, who's also going through the system, and I couldn't help but think of everything I heard about Mr. Business's son, because it seems to be a cycle. It seems to be just a circle. It's coming around again. So that if he ever finds himself in the situation that his mother finds himself in, where she's the only one he's got left to come in and speak for him, again, I guess it's the system that's done something, but it all starts, frankly, at somebody's home and what they have to offer to their children.
That is the thing that I like that he says. It all starts at home. You know, and he makes a really good point. Like, what, again, this is something that I talk about every time on this show. It's the consequences of violence. It's the cascading down that occurs during these events that we just we tend to forget that there's a kid involved, that there's this family involved, and that this is now the life that this child gets to know is grandpa's in jail, grandma's dead, mom committed this heinous act. I just hope this kid goes to a loving family. I don't know anything about where he's at, what's going on with her son, but it is a lot. I'm going to try to play one more thing because we have a show sponsor and I want to get into them really fast. Be right back.
Mover Nation, you guys all know how I lead a really busy life, right? And I know we could all use a little more relaxation. Now, whether you're trying to chill out or just need a good night's rest, NextEvo's CBD will be your best friend. But, and this is big, not all CBD products are created equal. Shockingly, a study found that many CBD brands contain as little as 60% of what their labels promise. I've been trying out NextEvo Naturals and Movers. It's the real deal. And their commitment? Well, it's giving you exactly what's on the label. Remember, they've undergone 4 clinical trials, a feat unmatched by any other brand of CBD. Now, I personally adore their Stress CBD Complex gummies. When I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed, they are a total game changer. And those nights when sleep is all too elusive for me, the triple action CBD sleep does absolute wonders. Leave summer stress behind and upgrade your CBD. Go to nextevo.com/MPT to get 25% off plus a free bottle of premium pure CBD, a $50 value, limit 1 use per customer. That's nextevo.com/MPT.
Thank you, Mover Nation. I appreciate that. That is a word from our sponsor, NextEvo Naturals CBD. Check it out, nextevo.com/MPT. It's fantastic. I use it on the plane ride. I use it at night. I'm getting the best sleep of my life now. And it is working wonders for me. So thank you very much. A lot of you are bringing up the issue of the child, and I guess her son is in the custody of the father's mother. It is a lot. But Carmen, her kid, LOL. Yes, old lady Snoop. I realize I try to do these shows earlier so you guys can go over and watch STS Nation. But one day you will probably have to make a choice, unfortunately. But in all seriousness, it hit that like button. Thank you so much, Tam Jules. But yes, there's a lot to think about in these situations because, again, this spawns a legacy of just, going down the rabbit hole of just now the kid is going to be in the system. Look, the grandmother's taking care of him. Is 77 years old. He's a little kid. She's not going to be in his life forever. What kind of role models is he going to have in his life? And what kind of, this is the thing that I talk about a lot on the show, which is this legacy of trauma that carries out throughout this family. Like, it's going to have to stop with someone. And if his mom was, she was idolizing a serial killer like Jeffrey Dahmer. She had this massive drug problem. I just hope and pray that this child does not fall into the perils of drug abuse, of abuse in the system, of abuse that a lot of children that are in these situations, myself included, have found themselves in. It is not good. And if you cannot find a positive outlet for all of this, it can just lead to destruction, which is not only bad for them, but it's bad for society as a whole. I digress. I'll get off my soapbox, but it's something that we really have to think about with a very compassionate lens. It sounds like this judge has done this. However, the judge, at the end of the day, the law is the law, and this woman needs to go to prison because she is a danger to society, as he points out. It's a big deal. It's a big problem. And someone who has such a callous and wanton way of behavior and such just doesn't have a care in the world for human life, it is a real problem. And this is this is a problem for sure. Lisa Gray says, I was so glad to see you at Crimecon. And I wanted to ask for a pic with you and Tara, but I checked it out. Oh, I wish you had asked for a pic because apparently I didn't take enough. So there we go. But thank you for coming and thank you for, and I'm so glad that you were at Crimecon and supporting. Thank you very, very much. Yes, Black Eagle, the statistics are not good. It is really, it's a problem. It's a big problem. And, it's, what can we do? Just say a prayer. Shanna Aztactic B. Collier, a born performer. Nice to meet you all. I'm going to sleep. It's in Holland, 1 a.m. Holland. Have a good night, Shanna Kramer. Aztactic B. Yeah, I guess I was a born performer. You're very true. Thank you for that. All right, I want to say thank you so much to all of my channel members, to all of you that checked me out at Crimecon, to all of you who are here supporting. Please remember to like and subscribe. I do lives every Wednesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You can catch an audio version of this podcast released every Saturday on your favorite podcast platform. New episodes of the Survivor Squad podcast with Tara Newell are available every Thursday and Friday. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts from. On that note, Mover Nation, we got through another episode. I am back. And tomorrow is my mother's birthday. I'm going to do a little thing about her. September 28th is my mother's birthday. So I'll do a little thing about her. And also say happy birthday to my dear friend, Barbie Matters. And then my dear friend, John Morrissey, co-executive producer of Murder Mansfield. His birthday is on Friday. So there's a block of 3 really good people in my life that all have birthdays 3 days in a row. But yes, tomorrow is my mother's birthday, September 28th. I'll be talking a little bit about her, and we'll get into a bunch of other stuff. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Collier Landry, and this is Moving Past Trauma. Thanks, y'all.
This podcast is made possible by support from listeners just like you. For exclusive content around this podcast, please consider supporting me via Patreon by going to collierlandry.com/support. Please subscribe via Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from, and please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to see video episodes of this podcast, please check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/collierlandry. You can find links to additional resources in the show notes of today's episode. This podcast is a production of Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Collier Landry.